Hello, and welcome to another chance to see exactly where Naruto the series scales to when actually finding necessary minimums. No wank, no faulty logic, part of that being no taking on back statements as simply true. We need to jump into the feats and scaling. Now again, this is a part of a series, so if you haven't seen the prior videos already covering the scaling up to this point, you should go watch those, because I'm going to be jumping right into some feats. Starting off, we will be going into Obito attacking Minato and his family. It's from here that we can see that Obito plays it so he can separate Minato from Kushina via paper bombs that he plants on Naruto. The explosion results in just the destruction of a single house, no cratering of the ground, so not the most powerful, but it's Naruto who'd be hurt. Minato is immensely powerful after all, and yep, he was indeed injured by a piece of that house. Yeah. This is only to continue from where we left off, again, previous videos. I'll say this now, again, full series scaling. Go watch the previous videos if you haven't already. Him getting injured by this house, this little bit here, is not a surprise to me. If this is a surprise to you, go watch the other videos. So now that we got that out of the way, we can go on to wrapping up Minato's house escape feat, where he also needed to use teleportation and not actual speed to get out in time for the bombs. Something that does show to be impressive, however, is this right here, the Nine Tails Bijou bomb. Now, what's special about this explosion is while it's far too far away to have a working angle, we do know that it being in the background would only make it smaller visually. And so when you look at the explosion size and compare it to, say, the Hokage faces, that explosion is far exceeding Pain's Konoha White minimum, and may actually outdo the Chibaku Tensei. Let's get an idea. First, we need to get an idea of the initial ball's size. I'm talking about the orb before the explosion. It being a ball makes so much of it missing not such a problem. And when compared to Minato's rock face, we can find it has a total volume of around this many cubic centimeters. Next, I'll be continuing what I've been doing for this series thus far and assume that the total joules of said explosion is equivalent to the total joules packed within the ball before the explosion, which does not have to be the case. Again, I've talked about like throwing a grenade and getting hit by just the grenade part versus the actual joules released when the grenade explodes. But if we just say that the explosion, getting hit by the ball without the explosion is equivalent to the explosion itself, and we assume vaporization for the blast, and we assume the blast would be large enough that the bottom section of the sphere could wipe Konoha equal to the volume of Pain's inner crater of this many cubic centimeters. Since the outer crater wouldn't be needed for Konoha to be wiped, we'd expect at least this many total joules, or high-end small country level total joules. And that would come out to about this many joules per cubic centimeter of the attack, or multi-city block AP, due to the extreme volume of even just the initial sphere. It is that large. And note, I'm fully aware that the AP can't be that low. Multi-city block, it's not that low. So, yes, while I can say that it's not that low, I'm pointing it out, it's not that it can't be that low because calc, or especially calc done wrong, no, that calc is correct of what I just did, taking me highballing it in many regards. You could get the effects I'm talking about, assuming everything I did, with that multi-city block levels of joules packed into each cubic centimeter, when the volume of the said attack is as large as that was. The reason why it's wrong is because we need to look at feats and scaling. And this clearly scales higher than Pain's Chibaku Tensei. Very clearly scales above it, because we just need to remember it was 8 out of 9 tails that physically crawled out of that same Chibaku Tensei. The same one that the earlier 6-tailed form couldn't do anything to with its Bijou bomb. Some good scaling here. But then comes the question. How much does a Bijou bomb outscale physicals when comparing Bijou to Bijou? Well, Luckily, we have that in the form of 8 Tails getting physically hit by the 5 Tails, as well as him taking his own Bijou bomb. It's from this that we could, in one form, make it easy, and another, be at least decently fair here, and say that the general Bijou bomb is hitting around 10 times the potency of their physicals. And that number is on the higher end, to be honest, okay? So this is not me lowballing, actually, which is what you ought to do. But I will be continuing with 10 for now as an easy number, and when I recap everything, then I will be revisiting this. So for now, 10 times more potency. And if we do that, we'd be looking at around this many joules per cubic centimeter, or we're talking island level AP. The new highest power scaled thus far in my series, but due to scaling and not calking, which is fine. One last thing to note here is that I am also fully aware that the 8 out of 9 Tails feat was also done at 50% of 9 Tails chakra. However, until I can be certain that this would increase their output and not just what they have available to putting into it something, like it is for all other humans, this will be where I have it at. But I'll be looking for such evidence given they are literal chakra beasts, so maybe it treats it differently. But do know, currently, despite being actual chakra beasts, and he's missing 50% of his chakra, it makes the most sense that even for Bijou, that more chakra is just more stamina for them to be firing off and be putting into utilizing of that larger quantity of chakra, rather than direct one-to-one more power or anything. So nothing is indicating that the Ninetales is physically or otherwise getting weaker each and every time he lends out his chakra or uses chakra. He's not getting weaker. And no, just to hit this real quick, the representation of will doesn't count. I'm talking about his actual self. We see all through the war arc as his chakra is being spent. And he's not like over here dying and actively getting weaker and weaker. But let's continue. We next see some important scaling. Obito versus Minato, and we have clear indication that they are extremely relative to each other in speed, with Minato edging out Obito via teleportation. In fact, Minato's teleportation will often be mentioned as speed. This will be important going forward, but besides that, I'll just get the Rasengan out of the way. That would be a Rasengan weaker than something Naruto has been able to put out for a good while now. And yeah, it didn't show great power, while also injuring Obito. Just one of the hundreds of bad durability examples. Next, we get to see that the Ninetales was driven out of the village by the third and the other Jonin, and this is a stark difference from the force that the Eight Tails faced. All that extra force, and he isn't already chained down struggling to move. He is, however, then shown having the full force of his arm with his hand and everything all the way to his nails, coming at Naruto, be halted because of 2 human bodies. Not enhanced in any way, no Susanoo, nope, just their human bodies. Like, he didn't flick them, he fully raised his arm and everything. And given the clear durability we've seen through the entire series, this has got to be just an outlier, and rather, I will say, is an outlier of terrible strength feat for the Fox, given his far more consistent good strength feats. That said, as we keep going in the series, we can finally jump into KCM1 Naruto, and I was very excited to get to this mode due to just how awful so many of the feats in the series have been for the couple hundred chapters now. So let's see what we can find. Right out the gate, we see his ability to sense evil and intentions, but I need a combat feat. That's what I'm looking for. Luckily, we have Naruto now instantly catching Kisame and smashing him so fast that all B saw was a yellow flash. Dang. And something extra special about this feat is that we know it wasn't actually teleportation. It was in fact a simple use of Shunpo, so while it isn't his base movement speed, his speed with Shunpo is already showing signs of hitting double-digit Mach speeds, though we have no concrete numbers yet. We do, however, then have not only an absolutely pitiful display of strength yet again, in both his foot causing nearly no destruction, we're talking sub-wall level AP on a physical side, but in fact, his foot is even stuck, suggesting he can't even remove his foot from that basic rock. In fact, his foot is so stuck in that couple inches of just rock that it's the reason why we see Kisame escape outside, fight Guy and a bunch of others, continue to escape while sending Guy away. We get Guy going 6th gate, but using B's toss rather than just his own movement speed for whatever reason, because he's too slow. And as he's being tossed, we can see that not only is Naruto not just now showing up or something, but that Naruto and Yamato are apparently still behind the waterfall. This may be the actual single worst physical showing in the entire series. And it just had to be on KCM1, no? Right, he just gets his form and this is what happened? What? So, we finally get a panel showing him and he's back in base and in pain because that actually managed to wreck his ankle. Next feat, Kisame tries to throw off Guy with a huge number of sharks. Guy is still in 6th gate, manages to wipe out the vast majority of them with ignited air. But how impressive is ignited air from punching? Well, this has been covered in a previous video of mine. And one thing to know is that generally, humans actually we would hit our boiling point due to how much water is in our body's boiling point before we would actually be igniting the air around us. But in a fictional setting, we can compare to other materials, and we're looking at Mach 2 to Mach 6, okay? Nothing too crazy impressive here. It's not bad, don't get me wrong, but it's not good. I was hoping with 6th gate we'd get a lot more than that, but it's no different than the first time we saw the feat. Still, it actually scales decently well with the series for where things are. Again, Mach 6 seems to be the highest end of movement speed right now in terms of fighting and moving around. So if we're talking about Mach 2 to Mach 6, maybe it's on the higher end. Again, we don't know. Those punches in combat have to travel far less distance than entire bodies do, moving from one side of a room to another, for example. So if Guy in 6th gate actually got close in melee range, so far no one would come close to actually stopping such a barrage. So it actually scales. It makes sense if we talk about Mach really closer to maybe Mach 5, Mach 4, Mach 5, Mach 6 at a high end. Mach 2 might be too slow at that point, even at such a range. So, moving on from there, as Kisame says himself, we're talking supersonic hand speed. But this statement not only isn't unbacked, it's backed by all the feats and scaling. So then, let's get on with the actual big feat, because we know that's actually what's next, right? And this is going to be the big one. This is the important one. Talking about his Afternoon Tiger versus Giant Shark Missile. It's when these two clash that we actually see an explosion of immense size. And what's more, we not only have Yamato tell us the explosion is from the Tiger Blast, while not mentioning a clashing of power. We actually later see this attack again, and the explosion is indeed 100% all done by Guy's attack. That's extremely impressive. However, as I just mentioned, this attack is used more than once, and here comes the problem for Naruto Wank. I've seen people say this explosion dwarfed the giant turtle, or a significant portion of it, and have different ideas for how large the turtle is and such, so on and so forth. But what we have here is a no sense of depth, low-angled panel of the explosion, showing a literal unknown amount of destruction with an unknown type of destruction, as we literally see no destruction. Enter the exact same feat later. We can see the trees in the background of Naruto and Kakashi fighting Obito. They're not large trees. We can also see in the actual explosion from an angle that does show its entirety that its height isn't even dwarfing the trees. And it's in the forefront, not the background. It would look even smaller if placed back there with the trees. But worse, we can now see the level of destruction and the type of destruction. Is what I'd like to say if there was any. I don't even see low levels of fragmentation, let alone something far higher. And for the final coffin for this feat as shown here is in fact the one that actually allows us the most accuracy, given again we get the level of destruction, the full size, and a clear angle showing the destruction and size and everything. And so of course this is the showing that not only isn't dwarfing an entire island or something, but it's fairly small and offers no destruction. Again, as the first one never showed destruction either. So both cases. These are the only examples we have of the feat thus far. What this ultimately means is that all we can say is that it scales above certain other things, but nothing actually top tier in the verse. So, sorry about that. Let's move on. Next we have Conan versus Obito. And do I even need to go into detail here? I hope you know what's coming. I'm sorry in advance. There's not much to explain or calc. We're talking paper bombs. And nothing even dictating super special paper bombs. And it's through these bombs that are far lower in potency than basic Deidara explosions that we see Obito could and would die to them if hit by too many, or even just one if in, say, the head. Dude literally loses an entire arm and is bleeding from the head from these paper bombs. Now, don't get me wrong, this makes sense in verse. Again, it's a very low durability verse. What I'm attacking here is just all the wank over the years, as if this series hit something even close to like continental durability. Like they can tank that amount of force and it's just anything but, okay? So yeah, Conan uses her billions of paper bombs. Obito phases, ultimately he kills her with a little no jutsu basic stabby stab, alright? Or at least significantly injures her. Maybe it was the less than a second lower than Tsunade level strength chokeout that actually killed her. We don't know, but the little stabby stab actually like injuring her the way it did, come on now. But no, makes sense. And if you think Conan's paper bombs scale anywhere near Deidara, in case you think that's the case, aside from Deidara being low tier, ultimately, it doesn't scale even close to Deidara, okay? Those same paper bombs that could kill Obito, the next thing we have from Deidara is him flipping the entire giant turtle with his explosion. Now imagine a single paper bomb from Conan. Her power was literally just in the numbers of bombs. The actual potency, the actual ability to punch through durability was still one paper bomb's worth of AP at a time. Could kill Obito. Next though, we can revisit Onoki and his strongest attack. See what it can do. Or it can be stopped again, okay? No. Though, I will say, the showing of being stopped actually leads credence to the level of power. They're really hyping it up, and in this case we have someone actively stopping him. This is no time for playing or holding back, and you have Kabuto in front of them. Still stopped. The only problem is we don't get to see the amount of destruction nor the degree of destruction. Like, would he destroy the entire turtle? Just enough of the turtle so that it dies? Or is it really atomization? Or does it, fragment or whatever the case? So we'll continue to look for more when it does something. And it does, don't worry. That said, the fighting continues, and the next thing of importance is Deidara flying with Onoki keeping up. This is important because even with flight, Deidara never showed speed of his creations outspeeding base Sasuke back when fighting him, let alone his full curse mark self. This means we could only scale his flying creation speed to around Mach 3, which is leaving Onoki's right hand behind. Can you believe that? Onoki's right hand is like, where are they going? Oh, like, not where are they going, but like, I'm actively being left behind. Terrible. Worse, Onoki didn't catch up and blitz him because, well, why not? Why isn't somebody of this caliber blitzing somebody that Sasuke back then could blitz or easily keep up even despite, being on the ground? Because, let's be honest, Curse Mark II Sasuke from way back then certainly would blitz him if flight wasn't an issue like for Onoki. Because on the ground, he more than blitzed him. If you saw it in my last videos, or my other videos before this that covered it, you would see panel by panel. So honestly, again, why is Onoki showing speeds rivaling pre-Sasuke versus Itachi speeds? Okay? And by rivaling, I mean, again, base Sasuke. Well, before going into more scaling, we can skip ahead to where we know now that the white Zetsu clones have all been powered up. And them being powered up will be important for later. But even more important for later is right now to understand that all Edo have their souls forcibly sealed into their Edo bodies. I'll be waiting to cover the TSBs once we get there, but both of these things, both of these points are very important. Souls forcibly sealed into their bodies, white Zetsu clones powered up. Cool. So for now, getting back into things, we can next see that Deidara and Sasori are going to fight. But it's Sai who impresses us. Now, last he'd done anything is when we got to the beginning of Shippuden, and a completely worn out Naruto was blitzed by base Sasuke. However, Sai was actually able to intercept and stop Sasuke. So, hey, cool. Time has passed. How much stronger has he gotten? Well, dang, dude, he actually outright blitzes both Deidara and Sasori. And with some help, both are sealed, but like, dang, that was an outright blitz. To note, this blitz was also while they were far away and up in the air, making this far more impressive. Considering Sasuke's speed versus Deidara and how the fight went while Sasuke was in base, this feat is solidly between Sasuke's base Mach 3 to Curse Mark Mach 6 cap, with it being closer to the higher end, to be honest. Because base Sasuke was really making him sweat in terms of the speed, but he didn't blitz him like this. So skipping ahead, we come across the Sensing Sphere. Oh, the Sensing Sphere, a jutsu that has led to so much wank. So many times have I heard that this actual sphere here represents not just a part of the total battlefield or even the entire battlefield, but no. It represents the entire planet. Actual insanity. It's here, however, we can actually see it picking up a large amount of individuals, all of which all occupy the current battlefield, while showing literally 0 signatures on the other side of it, which should raise concerns if it represents everyone across the globe and not one signature is popping up over there, but makes 100% basic logical sense if this is just the battlefield. What's more, we see without information and not the Sensing Sphere, they weren't going to catch the 100,000 Zetsus moving underground, and the Sensing Sphere's detection needs to be widened and moved down. But, okay, maybe now they widened it all the way to planet level? Let's look at the next scan of it. We see once more that now widened, it's only picking up signals on a single side still. And even more accurately, we see it sense 3 different enemies with 4 enemies spotted due to Mu being the last one. So, 3 different people were picked up on by the sphere, and each as soon as they appeared. Right as they appeared. Each simply existing in base. Now, honestly, try and tell me that the Sensing Sphere represents the entire planet when all 3 of them are within only the same battlefield area. It isn't filled from all the other people in the planet, and so much of one side, being the war, is filled. It's ridiculous, and you won't ever find a single panel that supports it being representative of the entire planet. The wank I'm talking about purely comes from the 10 tails being picked up on it and people jumping on the planet word for what it looks like. From here, as we move on from that point, we'll jump ahead to Haku and Zabuza scaling, where we can see they are forced to get serious. This is then followed up by Haku leaving the mirror and being intercepted and kicked by not just Base Guy, but even Base Lee. Be it that we don't see another mirror for reflection, perhaps that played a role or something, I'm not sure. But this flies extremely hard in the face of Lightspeed Haku movement, at least in terms of while out of the mirror. That said, we do see at least that while Kakashi can surprise Zabuza and would be able to take him out with a surprise attack, Haku is capable of intercepting from an unknown distance, showing pretty good non-mirror speed. None of this is upscaling the verse, but gives at least some decent consistency of, speeds. Of course, next, we do have to cover that a basic sword swing of Zabuza's caliber would in fact cleave Kakashi in half. Not a Bijou bomb or something of great power. Nope, just this basic sword swing. Skip even further ahead and remember the enhanced Zetsus. Important, they are enhanced now. They can be one shot by Darui. Multiples at a time. Okay, but he's strong. But hold on. No. They can be killed by Tintin and her basic kunai and shuriken. But, okay. Main character status? She's gotten a lot of screen time, right? We care about her. Nah. We even see them dying to all the complete no-names in the army. One even gets taken out by a single punch. One gets taken out by an Eno kick. All this is to say, they have complete trash durability too. And their speed isn't above the literal nobodies. Yet, we see 2 different instances where they were treated as actual threats to not only Hinata, but even Sakura with basic kunai. To be fair, we don't get to see for certain as both instances Naruto stops. The actual attacks. But on the other hand, we've seen the trend of durability feats. So many of them, and it's clear. They could kill those 2 with those basic kunai and the force of no-name level strength. That said, I hope that you enjoyed the video today. I'm going to try and keep it around 30 minutes. I'll be continuing, of course. We got a lot more feats to actually cover and scale. So, next video we'll be covering a lot more. And soon, very soon, we will be getting to actual impressive feats. Still not with durability. I know I've been ingraining that, real hard, pushing that so that's understood. But in terms of AP, we're going to be getting there soon, all right? Until then, catch you later. Peace.